Hello and welcome to Vidhammer, the battle report resource for Warhammer Fantasy. In this video we'll be covering a 2,000 point matchup between the vampire counts and the Skaven using the 8th edition rules. Our playing surface is 1 foot wider than regulation, so the outermost 6 inches on the left and right side of the screen are considered to be off of the board. The terrain pieces being used are the typical forests and trees in alternating corners, and our centerpiece is a house with an attached ghost fence. The Skaven player had the first setup and placed his war machines before the camera was rolling. There are 2 warp lightning cannons and 2 plague claw catapults on the left-hand side of the screen. The vampire counts first place a unit of 35 Graveguard with great weapons. The Skaven place a unit of 63 slaves opposite the Graveguard. The vampire counts set up their next unit of 36 ghouls to the left of the Graveguard, putting a good portion of the unit into the forest. The Skaven put down a unit of 20 clan rats with an attached poisoned wind mortar team. A unit of ghouls gets placed in the other end of the forest, and the Skaven respond with a second unit of slaves. The vampire counts place a bunker of 20 skeletons as their last unit. The Skaven's remaining placements consist of a second unit of clan rats with a warp fire thrower team on the far left, a unit of 36 plague monks next to the slaves, a third unit of clan rats with a poison wind mortar team next to the monks, and a unit of 5 poison wind globadiers with a poison wind mortar team on the far right of the battle line. The vampire general and a level 1 vampire go in the skeleton bunker, and the White King champion sits with the Graveguard. The Skaven have a Grey Seer that goes in the centermost clan rat unit, and a warlock engineer and battle standard bearer that both sit with the plague monks. In spell generation, the Skaven gets Scorch and Warp Lightning for the Warlock, and the Grey Seer gets Wither, Crackskull, Plague, and the Dreaded 13th. The Vampire General has Forbidden Lore, so he knows all of the vampire spells. The level 1 vampire gets Raised Dead. The Skaven win the first turn roll and elect to move their battle line forward enough to place their weapon teams within range. For the magic phase, the Skaven pull off the Dreaded 13th with irresistible force, which takes out 20 Graveguard, but the resultant miscast costs them 6 slaves, 10 clan rats, and 1 Grey Seer general when he gets sucked into the void. Skaven weapon teams miss the Graveguard unit and only inflict 1 wound on the leftmost ghoul unit before one of the teams blows up. The first warp lightning cannon misses, and the second cannon fires at the bunker but falls short, killing off 3 ghouls in the center unit. The plague claw catapults shoot between the ghouls and the bunker. The first shot drifts off, and the second kills 1 ghoul and 2 skeletons. Finally, the warlock engineer fires a doom rocket, hitting 12 ghouls and 2 skeletons, with the vampire general failing his lookout sir roll but succeeding at his ward save. The vampires move their line forward out of the blood forest and prepare to weather another round of ranged attacks. Both of the vampires have Master of the Dark Arts, giving them 2 additional power dice each. After the first winds of fate, the vampires have 12 power dice, while the Skaven have 4 dispel dice. Curse of Years takes out 12 plague monks and causes a wound to the battle standard bearer. Invocation of Nehek brings back 2 Graveguard. Summon Undead Horde is dispelled with a scroll. Another invocation of Nehek is dispelled, and finally Wind of Undeath succeeds in causing 8 wounds, including a warp fire thrower team. The Spirit Host unit gets placed in front of the leftmost ghoul unit. In the second turn, the Skaven move up their Poisoned Wind Globadiers to be out of the charging arc, and the Plague Monks move up a few inches behind the neighboring slaves. For magic, the Skaven successfully dispel the Curse of Years on the Plague Monks and attempt to cast Scorch, but it gets dispelled. The Warp Lightning cannons and weapon teams take out 6 Graveguard, and the catapults get 2 ghouls and 2 skeletons. The Poison Wind Globadiers get a single wound on the Spirit Host. The vampire counts successfully charge the outsidemost unit of clan rats with the Spirit Hosts. The remainder of the vampire line moves up just shy of the Skaven line. The second magic phase has the vampires with 11 power dice, while the Skaven again have 4 dispel dice. the vampires used 3 casts of Van Hel's Dance Macabre to move up their battle line. The Skaven attempt to dispel summon undead horde, but they fail, and the Graveguard regain 12 models. With a single power die remaining, the vampires cast a bound spell from the Staff of Damnation. This allows for an attack from the Graveguard and both ghoul units. The Graveguard have a Banner of the Burrows, and they get a weapon skill of 7 from their general's Helmet of Command. The defending slave unit takes 13 wounds. The other slave unit takes 4 wounds, 1 being on the BSB, and the Plague Monks lose 7. In close combat, the Spirit Hosts do 5 wounds, and the Clanrat unit fails its leadership test and runs. This causes 3 panic checks in the surrounding units. The Poisoned Wind Globadiers fail and run off the board. The Poison Wind Mortar team runs past the Clanrats. The Warp Lightning Cannon crew runs, so the unit is destroyed. The Helm of Command is used to give a weapon skill of 7 to the ghouls that are facing the Plague Monks. In the simultaneous combat, the Plague Monks use their Plague Banner and are able to cause 17 wounds, while the ghouls take out 13 of the Plague Monks. The Skaven win the combat, and the battle resolution takes out 4 more ghouls. The center ghoul unit takes out the battle standard bearer as well as 4 slaves while not getting hit. The slave unit should have exploded after failing their leadership test, but war nerves caused an oversight which let the unit run, ending up just short of the board edge, while the ghouls slammed into the center Clanrats. The Poison Wind Mortar team runs in panic, as well as the Plague Claw crew. In the remaining combat, the White King challenges the Warlock Engineer, who promptly runs to the back. The White King tries his best to cut down some slaves, but misses everything. The slaves manage to kill off a single Graveguard before taking 8 casualties. Even though the slaves are stubborn, they fail their leadership test and join in the great running spectacle. The Skaven resign the game at this point. With the loss of the general and the battle standard bearer, anything less than a massacre for the Skaven was highly unlikely. Thanks for watching this battle report. Be sure to check back for more videos each week. Do us a favor and subscribe, and as always, feel free to send a message if you have tactics or matchups you'd like to see. Till next time from the Vidhammer crew, keep fighting!